My name is Linda Tracy. I just turned 70 years old in May. My background has been mostly entertainment. I was a competitive singer for many years. I was a professional singer for many years. I have owned, I have managed movie theaters. I have worked on a cruise ship. I've been actually a cruise director of a cruise ship, and so lots and lots of that kind of thing. But in 2003, when I was urged to run for city council of La Center, and I won that election, I started on a whole new journey. So that's where I'm at today, I guess. Well, first of all, I don't really believe that there will be that much of a loss in the revenue. In 2013, we were still over $3 million in gaming revenue, and then it kind of fell a little bit, $500,000 each for the next 2 years, and that was probably because of chips closing. But then in 2016, it was back up over $3 million again. So I think sometimes they, and rightly so, they look forward and they forecast a little low, but most of the time it's been holding pretty well. If it was a little bit short, I really don't want to get rid of any city services. Right now the police force is stretched to their limits, and the Public Works Department is stretched to their limits, and so if possible, I don't really want to do that. There might be one position that I feel that could be absorbed, and that would be the assistant clerk at the City Hall. But that's about it as far as I'm concerned. You know, that's a really tough situation. The amount of tax dollars that cities and counties are receiving is ridiculous, and small towns are right to look at those options. I would not be in favor of sales at all, but I could be convinced to go with a grow or some other process like that. Good money, unfortunately. Well, definitely a hotel. I know that the tribe is thinking about a hotel. It would be nice if the city could kind of jump on the bandwagon and get a hotel or a small express something going. That's kind of a given. The other thing I would like to see is some sort of a manufacturing company, someone who makes something that a lot of people need, that doesn't take up a lot of space for parking and customers. We don't have a lot of available land at the junction, so it's going to have to be some sort of compact situation like that, I think. At this point, I don't. I think that they are doing pretty well. I'm very close to both of the card rooms and their owners. They do support some of my nonprofit situations, so I kind of keep in touch with them, and I think that they're doing pretty well. Surely they would like to do better, but until things get a little bit more grave as far as that is concerned, I would not be in favor of that. Well, obviously the first one would be commercial or industrial entities of some kind to bring in tax dollars. The other thing that I would like to see La Center do is take advantage of their historical background and bring in or have events going on, such as some of the ones that Ridgefield do, that bring people into our community, not just for the card rooms and not just for the Indian Casino, but to celebrate La Center's rich history as the center of river traffic for so many years. We have a beautiful waterfront down by Sternwheeler Park, and it just would be nice to have some sort of celebrations that people would want to partake in, no matter where they lived, maybe within a 50-mile radius or so. It was definitely the right decision to not partake in outsourcing the sewer treatment plant. I was involved in the whole taking back of the sewer plant from Clark Public Utilities in 2006. One of the reasons that we did that is because Clark Public Utilities did not have any kind of fund for breakdowns or disasters. If anything happened, they passed along those dollars to the customers. It's one of kind of La Center's only infrastructures that is ours, and it's being run correctly, it's being run well. We have 2 staff members there that are very well versed and educated in it. Actually, outsourcing was proving to me, as I checked into what was being talked about, it would have been more expensive, and And after all these years of trying to put aside the debts and get it into a good working order, it just seemed to be not logical for me to just pass it off to another company. And in the future, when we do have development up at the junction, those wastewater treatment customers will then be ours and not someone else's. I think with my experience in La Center since the year 2000, my experience with the City Council for 8 years, my life experience, my nonprofit experience with Miss Teen La Center, mentoring young girls since 2003, there isn't a lot about La Center that I don't know or that I'm not involved with on a daily basis. That was one thing that I was kind of surprised at how I felt when we first moved there. But I opened up a business, I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce, then I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, then I started the Miss Teen La Center pageant, and I am very, very invested in my community. And I would like to continue to show how much I love the community and how much I think I can help the City Council kind of stay on a little bit more even keel.
Good evening, and thanks for appearing at this forum tonight. I'm Doug Boff, and I'm running for La Center City Council position number 1. And I'm here to thank the voters of La Center for their support in the election and the primary in August. And I'm also asking the citizens of La Center to provide me with that same support in the general election in November. 10 years ago, my wife Beverly and I purchased a residential lot in a subdivision in La Center because we felt La Center would be an ideal place to retire. We were captivated by La Center's small town charm and the friendliness of its citizens. We were able to move to La Center 4 years later, and La Center has been everything that we expected it to be. Bev and I have both gotten involved in community activities. I deeply care about La Center, and I care about the challenges that La Center will face, the opportunities that it will have, and I care about our city's future. I want to thank the League of Women Voters of Clark County for hosting this forum tonight, as I believe this meeting is a perfect opportunity for the voters to get to know the candidates running for City Council and to determine the suitability of those candidates. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll begin with question number 5. What skills do you bring to the job of City Council member?
I haven't even gotten to number 5 in looking at the list. Well, I can tell you that I bring 40 years of management experience in the manufacturing industry. I've worked with large groups of people. I've had profit and loss responsibility at 2 companies. I understand how budgets work. I understand how companies can do well and how they won't do well. In addition to that, I bring 2.5 years of experience on the Center Planning Commission. And the experience on the Planning Commission has been a real eye-opener with regard to how cities work and how they don't work sometimes. But it's been a very, very valuable experience, which I will bring. Okay.
So the next question is number 1. The city's next annual budget may be $1 million lower due to the loss of revenue from card rooms that closed. What would you do to replace this lost revenue? What city services might you trim, if need be?
Replacing lost revenue will not happen overnight, unfortunately. We need to focus on the I-5 Junction area because the I-5 Junction is the only area where we have the area zoned for for expansion of light industrial, office, R&D, and that type of activity. We need to have a diverse, broad base of business out of that area. Light industrial, as I mentioned, R&D, hospitality, and even consumer services out there. The other side of the economic coin is expenses. And that will be a tough call for us, but it's something that we're going to have to face. We'll have to look at every service that the city offers. I think every service needs to be examined very carefully. We need to look for improved efficiencies, and we need to look for savings. If we have to cut, I can tell you that the last area that I want to cut is the police department. That's a very vital component of our city. I've spoken with a lot of citizens during the primary, and our citizens have very strong feelings about the police department and the low crime rate that we have. And the police department would be the last thing that I would want to touch.
Number 6 is, what kinds of businesses would you like to see in the downtown core?
Primarily consumer services would make sense for the downtown core. We have had a residential professional zone for a number of years, just adjacent to what we call our C1 downtown zone. And we have not had a lot of success with that. We've had a few people bring in professional businesses in their home, but I think we need to think about expanding the C1 zone. Primarily consumer type businesses. When you look at other communities that have thriving downtowns, you see a lot of restaurants, very, very popular. You may see some wine tasting companies. You may see other kinds of consumer areas that the local residents can access very easily, that they find close to their homes and don't have to drive 30 minutes to access.
We'll go on to number 9. Several Clark County communities have increased revenues through excise taxes associated with the production and sale of recreational marijuana. La Center has a moratorium, which only the City Council can rescind. Would you support the sale and/or growing of marijuana in the city?
I have spoken to many, many residents who love the center because they feel it's a great community to raise families. They love the schools, they love the parks, they love the activities that are available for their children. They love the low crime rate. They feel the streets are safe. The sale of recreational marijuana does not mix with a nice, safe, family-oriented community. And I would not support rescinding the moratorium.
Number 2, how important do you view economic development at La Center Junction? What type of development would you see as the most beneficial to the city and its residents?
Well, development out there is vital to the economic state of the city, assuming that we continue to show a downward trend in the cardroom revenues, which has been established. There is a downward trend. And as I touched on just a couple of moments ago, we need to have a mix of businesses out there. La Center presently derives 70% of its revenue from one industry. And from working in the private sector for 40 years, I can tell you that that is not a good business model. And we recognize that we need to broaden that base of business that we have. So getting back out to the junction, as I touched on just a few moments ago, we need to have a bit of everything out there. When I say everything, I'm talking about light manufacturing, research and development, office complexes, consumer services. We've zoned the area out there for apartments and higher density residential. And along with that, we will also have the need for consumer services. And we'll find that that will be a very positive and a very vibrant environment, given the few years that it will take to get those kinds of businesses established.
Do you support giving tax breaks to the 2 remaining card rooms in downtown La Center in an effort to help them stay in business?
This question has come up many times in the center. I have spoken to the City Council, in a City Council meeting specifically. I want to step back just one step. It would be disastrous if the card rooms were to close. If anyone has been familiar with a one company town, I've seen them on the East Coast. I've seen steel mills that have closed down and seen what that's done to those communities. I know what's happened in the Northwest when lumber mills have shut down. It's absolutely disastrous. I've gone on record as saying that I don't want to see La Center look like a Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, which was an actual ghost town when I saw it a number of years ago. So with that in mind, I spoke to the City Council, and I expressed that we should leave that as an option, but not reduce the taxes coming right out of the gate. that we needed to see some evidence from the card rooms that they were in financial trouble before we got to that point. Are they there yet? I don't know. I don't see their financials. But assuming that if it got down to a situation of either reducing the card room tax or having the card rooms leave town, in that case, I would be very supportive of sitting down and negotiating with the card rooms and finding a solution that would benefit both parties.
So what are your top 3 priorities for the overall improvement of La Center? Please give some details.
Business, and new business.
Is that all your 3? Yeah.
Those are all 3, yes.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the last question. Do you think La Center took the proper action in retaining control of the city's sewage treatment plant rather than entering into a public-private partnership which might have saved some money? Why or why not?
It's a sensitive subject. Many communities have retained the services of companies to run their sewer plants. It's very common. And I would have preferred if we had the opportunity to have more of a savings in the proposal that came back to us from the consulting firm. If we were able to save money, and based on what we're talking about tonight with the financial future of the center, I would have been in favor of saving money any way we can, as long as the quality of service were to be maintained. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
So you have 1 minute to close.
Thank you. I believe the citizens of the center will be best served by having the most qualified person elected to this seat. In fairness, I would not be running if I were not convinced, if I were not that person. Anyone seeking a position on city council must be up to date with what is happening in the city. During the past 2.5 years, I have attended nearly 90 city council meetings and work sessions. And in this same period, in the same 2.5-year period, I have served as a city planning commissioner. As planning commissioner, I've been involved in many, many projects, and among those were the 6-year comprehensive growth management plan, the mixed-use code revision, and most recently the I-5 Junction master plan. I hope you can see that I care about La Center and that I have made a substantial commitment to the city with both my time and my energy. That commitment will continue as I serve as your council member. I pledge to act only in the best interest of all the citizens of the center. Thank you for having me.
Thank you to our candidate, Mr. Boff, for the La Center City Council Position 1.